Great.
Okay.
Hello, brother.
Wazzy
Hello,
Waz.
Simon. Hello to the people watching for this next
Hi.
episode of, I guess, what we could call Purpose Chronicles by now. Let's see what.
Purpose Chronicles.
Yeah, let's see what unfolds here today. I have an inspiration to start uh, bringing in a piece that's been important for me since our last call, actually, and I learned that my importance to Earth is super important when it comes to finding my place in the forest and in the world, really. So I would invite
Okay.
us just for a 5 minute practice to center and ground here together. And yeah, do you have
Yeah,
any
yeah,
pieces?
that's a good idea. But I just want to, before we do that, I want to note that last time your audio was very mild and people weren't able to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I was using my headphones, which I'm going to pull out again and use. But I don't know if you have a solution for your end to make sure
I
your audio is loud.
Yeah, so I the best I can do is put my laptop closer, which I just did. So
Okay, let me grab my earphones.
yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. How is my
Okay.
voice?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now because of the earplugs, but yeah, I hope that that on the recording you will be as loud and clear as well.
Okay, so we got some technical stuff to upgrade on by next time. I'll have a look into that and let's go with how it is now.
Continuously evolving.
Yeah. So that being said, I invite us and also the watchers, the listeners, to join us in a short centering grounding. And the first step is I would invite us all to close our eyes. And then the invitation is to, as if you were an octopus, to draw in all of the tentacles that might be still in different locations. So all the tentacles of sensations, feelings, thoughts. Just imagine drawing them into your center, the center of our being, of our bodies, is ideally 2 fingers underneath the belly button. So imagine here if you can really draw in all of your energy through this central place. Perhaps to allow a deeper landing to happen here, see if you can allow 2 of the slowest breaths that you've taken yet today in this central space. And really, the invitation is to connect to the organic rhythms, the organic pace of Mother Earth, which is a different pace than the mind or our societal pace. It's really the pace of love, which is a lot slower. So just see if you can allow yourself to sink into that. check if there's any holdings in the body, any tensions that could perhaps ease a little more. As you allow yourself to soften into this very moment. And then from there, we're going to, we're a little more connected to our center. Strengthen this connection to Earth even more. And the way we do that is by using an energetic tool called the grounding cord. So the invitation now is to declare and visualize this grounding cord moving from this central place towards our perineum and ultimately towards the core of Earth. And yeah, I find it strengthens the connection to each other, but also to the cord. If we name it out loud, which color the grounding cord has. So just check and see, and I'll do the same. And mine is yellow, green, with a flavor of brown today. So, would you share if you're having any color, which one that is, Simon?
Mine is red.
Did you say red?
Yes, mine is a nice sort of dark red
Dark red. Okay.
with yellow flames.
With yellow flames. Okay. So cool. So imagining this grounding cord now moving towards the crust of Earth and seeing it connect in this way viscerally with Earth as it slowly starts to penetrate the crust of Earth all the way towards moving further towards the core of Earth and taking its time to really click in there. So just give this a few moments to happen. And then once that's established, there's an opportunity to give off any energies that don't serve or to take up, to receive any positive Gaian, Mother Earth, earthly energy. So just give yourself a moment for that. Hmm. 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 Great, so if that feels somewhat complete, there's a few short extra steps. I wasn't planning on bringing them, but I would, yeah, it feels more complete for me to bring them, so I'll just do that in a short minute or so, with completion. And so the next step would be to visualize and declare an energetic bubble around your body. Also the possibility to scan if it's there, if there's any holes to be repaired or there's any energy in this bubble that doesn't belong. to your bubble, to your space, to remove that. So just check if you feel like. Hmm. Right, so gonna keep this short, short today as we move on to the final step here, which is just a bigger bubble for whatever wants to unfold here today for this podcast, coaching, energetic work, just creating and visualizing a golden bubble of workspace, so to say, around the spaces we are both in and around the space we share, so that we can undisturbedly let whatever work wants to unfold here. And this golden bubble is also grounded into Gaia, into Earth, so any unnecessary energies can safely find their way back. And then finally, to wrap that up, I give us both the possibility to call in any energies that you feel might be of service to the space. For that, I will call in brotherhood, clarity, and inspiration. And if you feel like calling anything in, you're welcome to do so now.
Um, I'm calling in heart-centeredness,
Mm,
truthfulness,
mm,
um, edge,
mm.
a willingness to lean into edge, and union, uh, speaking towards a common purpose.
Great. Thank you, brother. I'm gonna put my speaker here so I can surely hear you well. Yeah, so here we are. Next, yeah, Purpose Chronicles space. And if there's nothing bubbling up for you yet, I do have a few things I could start bringing in the space.
Please.
So I guess I would like to start sharing a few words about what unfolded since our last call, and then dive into what's really currently alive on my edge, so to say. Um, so I've, in the meantime, I would say a lot unfolded. This last time it was so clear for me that my relation to Earth is sort of top priority right now. And so I really took that to heart and started exploring. And before I talk about that, I want to say also that I was somewhat kicked out of a community that I was in for 2 years, because their story was, and it's a possibility management actually that you know, their story was that I wasn't really transforming. So I got really, life has been really knocking on my door with some messages that I wasn't able yet to unfold. And so I'll share how it did unfold, because it was like a knocked me on the head, like, hey, wake up, there's something here that you need to look at. And so it was, yeah, this message of connecting more with Earth and with my body became so clear. So this is what I've been doing the last week, is this exercise that we just did with connecting the grounding cord and centering is what I've been doing for 2 hours, 3 hours straight, and just seeing what are all the things that come up when I intend to connect with Earth. And I've got clarity that mm, there are some really unresolved pieces in me when it comes to being on Earth. And what showed up at the surface for me was like, I'm not living my purpose, I'm not taking my place in the marketplace, but really trickling down and feeling all those feelings, what came up is all the things that I didn't feel yet about being on Earth. And I came all the way back to my experience in the womb, and how much fear I felt being in the womb of my mother, and all the fear I didn't really feel yet. which made it so that I was still carrying it as a 32-year-old man, some of those layers that were in between me and life, in between me and Earth. And you mentioned in the weeks in the school that I was sometimes quite ungrounded. And for me, this is somewhat at the core of that. So far as I'm finding out now.
Mm.
And so I was really in a way I was very curious this last week also as I was moving through these baby layers. Um, as I heard you share and write in your book, like you also moved through something similar, and I don't know all the details of that, and I just know this as a broader like a curiosity because I think that that we could really connect on that level at one point if there's enough safety, if there's enough trust in each other, um, and yeah, if you're willing to share a piece about that today, I would very love to hear it, and if not, that's totally okay as well. Um,
Mm.
and so
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. You're really touching a lot of places in my heart with your share.
Mm,
So thank you for your honesty and for what you share. Yeah, it's my prayer that whatever I share is of use for you or whoever is listening. That might be the same way. Um, oh, to some people it might sound really boring, not being able to ground, not feeling safe in the world. What is that about? I would say that I grew up in a place and I was constantly surrounded by people that would just sort of like kick at me and just sort of like roll their eyes at me not feeling safe. You know, it's almost like I was a fish that didn't like the water he was in.
mm,
Um, and I think it's good to honor that that for some of us the world is a scary place, but it doesn't make us of any less worthiness of being here. In fact, I believe that the world needs people like us right now, and we are actually very courageous to come into this ground to do our work here. So when I say to you, not very grounded, it's not coming from a dismissive place or just sort of like rolling my eyes kind of place. Um, people like you and I, perhaps people who are watching, we have capacities and abilities that are ungrounded, that are up in those higher realms, that are completely unimaginable for some people, and that are incredibly useful right now on Earth because we can bring in certain informations, right? And so not to dismiss ungroundedness, but more to encourage. Like right now, encourage, right? The real courage is to ground, in a place in a realm that is sometimes hard to make sense of. That's why I sent you that song the other day, those lyrics about do not give up on love. And for me, they really hit home. Uh, so being born into a system that by default didn't honor our sensitivities, being born to uh, a set of parents that by default couldn't completely uh, understand, the intricacies of the child they were about to give birth to. Being born in a way that is so
Simon,
vastly
I'm just
unnatural.
I love what you're sharing. Can you pause and make sure that your microphone is close enough?
Yeah. Is that
Yeah,
better?
that's much better. Thank you.
Yeah. So being born in a way.
I think it's
Um,
the ear you're taking out that has the microphone. Is that possible? That one.
how's this?
Yeah, yes, this will be better, I think.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes, yes, much better.
Oh
Thanks.
yeah, you're right. You're right. Microphone's here. Um, so being born in a way that was inherently unsafe, um, and then being surrounded by people who didn't have that sacral chakra capacity to sense those
Mm,
intricacies, made being in this world for me, and I guess for many of us, scary by default.
mm,
And so there's that sort of lower chakra trauma that at some point on some level I had said, to myself as a child, like, this is not a good place to be. So as
Mm-hmm.
a trauma response, I would go up in the higher chakras where I feel safe and connected,
Mm-hmm.
which made being an empath, which is the capacity to feel everything around me to a higher degree than most, a really overwhelming experience because sensing all of these dark, strong, heavy, complex energies didn't feel safe because I would immediately, they would remind me of abuse, of violence, of unsafety.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, and that's why I grew a belly real quick, just trying to sort of close down that overactive sacral chakra, to sort of grow a nice layer of fat around it to distance myself from the world.
Mm-hmm.
See? And so for me, the journey has been to, yes, to find a place in this world. And it's still an ongoing journey. To find a place that say, this is my place, to learn about setting boundaries, even if in the setting of boundaries, others might get upset. And even if that feeling of upsetness is then causing another layer of overwhelm, because to a healer, it's not fun to upset someone. By default, you don't want to see people suffer, but to be okay with them having to do it on their own. You see? So those are some of the pieces that I'm sharing with you. It's because, and this is more of a general share, is because our needs weren't being met, I believe, as a child. The only way, the coping strategy to get our needs met would be to carry a little bit of the weight of the parents and of the caretakers around us, the caregivers around us. Just give a little bit of our energy away, hopefully in exchange for a little bit of their love and care, because that would feel good. And that is the foundation, as I understand it, for becoming a wounded healer. A wounded healer being someone who overexerts themselves, who is constantly obsessed with healing others, who finds real safety in being an important healer that can help others, and who, in my case, had to learn what it would be like to have all of that taken away, to be ridiculed and backstabbed by those he was trying to help, and then to go through that, to come into an understanding that no one needs to be healed, no one needs to be helped. And those that are wanting some of your healing and help, they will come to you naturally. And then you can give them what is available in that moment, and you can come back into your center and just enjoy life. But for me, that took a deeper understanding of duality, because I was still living in the judgment that good was better than bad. And I had to come to terms that in this duality, in this reality of dark and light, of night and day, man and woman, of all of the extremes, the darkness and the sadness and the suffering is just as important as the joy and the bliss and the ease. And that we may never see, that we may not be here to create some sort of world of perfection, because maybe that's where we came from, but to create it just for ourselves, that we can create heaven around us, but it doesn't mean that we have to turn the whole world into some uh, of what we believe is our ideal. So a lot of that has to do with accepting that others may not, view life in the same way as I do, which is challenging at times. Because the village up the road that's throwing their plastic rubbish and their chemicals into the river, it surely washes by my house. And so I'm surely confronted on an everyday basis with the pollution, with the darkness. And my journey is to come to terms with it and to accept it where it's at, and then to welcome the opportunities to bring change. So that leaves no space for me for activism, for fighting. Um, and it is a big invite for me to just selfishly, in a sense, selfish and selfless for me are one and the same, to spend a lot of time just caring for myself. It's just something that I'm still learning and getting better at. Because um, I'm no good when I'm half grounded, half charged, just sort of throwing buckets of water at a huge fire. I'd rather just be the host. So yeah. So
Yeah,
there's a little share on that.
yeah, thank you. Like to jump on that. This some a lot of things are coming up for me when I hear you share what you
Yeah.
shared. And yeah, what I hear and what I've been experiencing this last week is this realizing that um there's a lot coming up. Let me see if I find a harmonious piece here. Yeah, is that one when we have wounds in these lower chakras, it can also sometimes mean, and that's what I'm discovering from myself, that my energetic bubble isn't fully closed, so the energy can leak, there's ruptures, and so it's not that easy to make the distinction between this is others and this is mine. And so what I hear you say about, self-care and all those things, yeah, I'm really noticing there's so much elements to it and so much importance to it. And I start noticing that actually, yeah, there's also wanting to save others and all of that is a result of that. And so what seems to be prime importance is again this connection to earth, but really this realization that, you know, I'm a I'm a unit. I'm a separate unit, and unless I find this wholeness in myself where the most biggest holes are repaired and whatever, um, it it's very hard to be of use to others or to be of use to the world. So once again, I'm coming back to this priority of, okay, how do I make sure that I'm actually ready to be of service? And um, you told me a few times in these last weeks that you you give me permission to be where I am on my journey, and you told it in several ways. You said, "Hey, Wout, uh, if 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 you're feeling messy right now, that's okay. I still love you, no matter how messy you are." And it gave me this permission to be where I am. Is that right now I'm actually messy, and so I'm a mess. So just name it straight like that. And this gave me this acceptance of, oh, I'm actually on a healing journey right now. I'm not yet in a journey of serving the world because there's something I need to figure out here. And so I've been taking a stand for that stronger and stronger every day. Like, yes, this is actually the journey I'm on, and I need to and I will figure this out, or I will do what is necessary. Um, and so I've been sitting with myself this last week that could really land in me, and I realized how scared I was of being a mess. And so really just see, I guess I had these long sessions. I recorded a Zoom call with myself for 3 hours and I was being my own therapist. And I could see like, holy shit, I'm so many parts and many of them are still in terror or in fear or in sadness or in trauma. And I'm a mess right now. So can I love that? Can I accept that? And yeah, so I see you have a lot to repeat to reply to this. So I'll give you space for that. And this is what I felt coming up after what
Mm.
you shared.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. We've been running the school for 7 years by now. And I was just reflecting when you shared, and you don't need to go into the details of that at this point, maybe later, but when you said you were part of the community and they sort of like rejected you because you're not willing to transform, I was just reflecting for myself. Did I ever have to kick anyone out here? And the answer is no, never. Never have I had to the leader of this little place. Never had did I have to tell anyone um, because there is some greater energy at play that we're all dancing to, I believe, that will naturally harmonize and balance the community. And my inspiration for that is to compare agriculture to a forest. So I think it's good for us to remember that we grew up in an agricultural society. Agriculture by default has huge. I'm overlooking a rice field right now. Has this huge land, and every single plant in there is uniform. It is a certain way, and there's the farmer on the top that is sort of controlling and deciding who gets to be there and who gets to go. Right? It's very selective, and in many ways, the system is completely always fighting nature and good against nature rather than working with nature. And it requires a lot of effort and a lot of control. And sure, it is productive to some degree, but it's also destructive to a large degree. And I've always sort of stared at agricultural society, like growing up in the Netherlands, which is incredibly industrialized, organized, and it is actually known for the highest level of agriculture in the world. It's the leading force of agriculture. How I've always felt like these people are mad, like they're running, they're controlling, and they're managing, but under the surface is sort of this rage and force, and Zumi wants to come back to life. And so coming to Bali and observing that we can do things very differently, and when it comes to growing food, we can actually grow food as a jungle, as a rainforest. We can have all of these different plants and animals sort of like, you know, harmoniously coexisting. And then sure, we can come in as the guardian of this forest, and we can still um, do some work. We can do some pruning, and we can remove certain plants. It's not like we're completely powerless there, but ultimately, it's not us that is determining the ultimate success of the system. Like we are a part of the system, and it's by listening to and understanding the great force of nature that is always here to balance us, is where the success lies. So that's why, like, let's say you, for example, absolutely, and I have this attitude towards everyone that I had in my life. Like you are absolutely perfect wherever you are. Because who am I to judge it? Uh, as long as you're willing to show up, you see, and show up. I mean, show up in connection. And that's why at this school we meet most mornings and we sit together. And like we just did in the beginning of this call, we take a few minutes to connect to this greater force, and then we'll trust in whatever unfolds from there will by default harmonize. And I have noticed that those who no longer needed to be here in this school, there was a greater force than me that would absolutely make sure that this person would move on to the next stage. And because that's the flip side of of control, right? Where you through manipulation and all kinds of ways are keeping people in because it's that sort of codependent relationship where you make them relying on the other. And I had to learn the hard way, like to never take it personal if someone decides to stay here with us or to leave. That's why when you mentioned to me, oh, I'm not ready to come back to the school and I'm afraid you take it personal. And I check in with myself and there's not a shred of that. Like I'm completely, and I really, it wasn't always like that. I really had to learn the hard way. As a space holder, I believe we cannot get any sort of personal attachment. I was going to say satisfaction, but it's not the right word. There's great satisfaction in the coming and going of people, but we cannot have any personal attachment to it because that wouldn't be right. In the same way that for me, the pharmaceutical industry profiting off cancer patients is a very slippery slope because that means they're more invested in sick people than in healed people, right? And so, in the same way, it'd be strange if we had a personal attachment to a person being healed or broken, so to speak. And I think and that's the last thing I shared, that ties in with what we were touching on before. I think the wounded healer in me wanted everyone around me to be healed, to be connected, to be grounded, so I could feel safe. And I had to learn to feel safe, and I'm still learning to feel safe in the turbulence and in the dark energies, and to find a place for myself where I learn how to ground myself and nourish my nervous system and to come back strong. So so I can be around those. So there's a bunch of things I wanted to share about that.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah. So that seems to organically bring us to somewhat of the current edge, and um, I'll just weave us into that, and because what I hear a little bit that has been happening for you, and that's what I really appreciate about our connection is that you're just a few years ahead. It's just how it is, and it's things where I can learn a lot from. And so, anyways, what I realized also is that actually, um, in the PM world, they say that to become a free being in the world, you need to escape 8 prisons. And one of those prisons is the parents' bubble, the bubble you grew up in, the parents, the way they think, the way they believe, well, all their beliefs. It's a bubble we grow up in, and it's not, it takes us away from our authentic self because we grew up in that bubble, but we are a separate being. We are a soul, you know? So I realized that actually I took in that process the first step, which is leaving my parents' bubble physically, but now I'm doing it energetically, where I'm realizing actually, my father is still giving me 250 euros a month, um, which is causing a sort of a energetic dynamic that makes it so that I'm still not a fully independent man. And also, yeah, I was reflecting this last week, and it feels like there's an importance to that, to me really being able to fully on my own feet is making my own money, being able to provide for myself and then later for others. So so that got me to, yeah, to my current edge, which is what I've been asking. I'm gonna check my notes here because I took a lot of notes. Um, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. Hey, because yeah, I came to the school with this clarity of like one of my big passions is food because my inspiration tube is getting loaded with food ideas. And and it's interesting, the more healing processes I do, the more I heal, the result of it is almost always a food idea. So I've been sharing about vegan kebab, and there's more things, like my list is really growing. So at one point I'm gonna have to come to the school or find a kitchen to just get it out, you know. um but I'm also realizing that this process of 10 years of being on a healing path has made me into who I am now, which is where I feel, deliver the most value to the world from where I am right now, which could be for me a source of delivering value and then receiving value back, making it so that I can provide for myself. So I basically realized that um, if yeah, that I need to fix this first. I need to first be able to provide for myself, to be really fully independent, and then bring my inner child to a cooking school where when I already have the safety of my kingdom is established and I have a direction and everything. Now I can come and play and be fully free in the way I show up at that school, because I have my things sorted out. And so I got that clarity, like, oh yeah, okay. So it'd be so much more fun to show up at the school from that place where I'm just like, hey, I'm free to play here with you. I got my shit sorted out. And I look forward to that moment. And for now, I get this clarity that, okay, I'm gonna solve my money stuff and my full independence and everything that takes for me to get there, and that I will have to meet in between, like incarnating on Earth and removing these energetic bonds from my parents that keep me a somewhat inauthentic being, because I have old stories that I still need to adapt to them, which is in reality right now bullshit, but I'm still living that. So I need to cut those ties fully and become my own man. And so, that being said, I got the clarity that what's really right now on my bench is what feels like a true offering to the world from where I am now already, knowing that I healed a lot already. I'm maybe not there yet, but what is the most value from who I am right now in this moment that I can already deliver? And so that's been really on my bench, and I've been sitting with that and letting it, like a chef would say, letting it simmer, you know. Um, and so far, and then I'll give it back to you. What came up is this: for how my constitution is, it would have to be something that um, actually is worth sacrificing for. Because an offer, it's something you offer, you give a piece of your, it's like, it's not something you freely give easily. For me, an offer is something that you're actually giving, like you are with your whole being taking a piece of you, almost of your heart, and putting it on the market. Like that's a true offering, I would say, you know. And so I'm with that. What am I willing to step in the fire for or to make a sacrifice for? And so far the piece I got is something that really touches my heart. Something, maybe it's the guy I was 5 years ago, the oversensitive man that has no boundaries and no clarity and just a lot of confusion about himself and the world. Um, and yeah, I'm being with this question. What is the truest valuable offering I can bring to the marketplace in this very moment? And this is what I show up with to this call today with you as my current edge.
Mm, thank you, Sharon. Yeah, I feel you on all of it until we get to the point of the pondering about the what.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I'll just share for myself. I would say I'm someone I live my purpose, that elusive purpose, every moment of every day. There's no separation between a purposeful life and a non-purposeful life. It's every moment of every day, and in every moment, whatever that offering is, whatever that gift is, um, it will present itself. And for me, the path has always been about following what brings me joy and satisfaction, and not judging it. It's the pure creative energy. So I'm wondering, and it might be that if there is really a point pondering the what, if we can get stuck in over analyzing what it should be, just again, um, if you are brave enough to go beyond the conditioned system of the 9 to 5 and the living the life that others um, want you to live, so to speak, if you can go beyond that and start to really live the life for yourself, then every moment and every day is an option, whatever it entails, right? I personally don't see. I just know for myself, whatever useful or worthwhile I've ever offered to the world has never come from that place. It's always more come from this sort of spontaneous, like the vegan kebabs coming to you. It's just come, okay, let's go, let's do it. Like 2 days ago, we're running around the food forest, all of a sudden labeling all the different plants, and it came so naturally, and it was like,
Hmm.
all right, this has to become a living pharmacy. This is the next thing. All right, let's go with it and let's enjoy the expansion. It will never be finished. It will never be perfect. Every day there will be all kinds of other plants, overgrowing, and we will always have to manage this to an extent, but that's okay. It's beautiful and from that place of inspiration. Yeah, that's really all I have to say um about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the clarity I'm receiving from that is just a remembrance of how I tend to be a little cerebral sometimes and I can just by a reflection receive that I'm a little bit operating too much under a idée fixe, they would say, like a it has like this is the right way and it has to look like it's a construct. It's not fresh life happening. It's an
Yeah.
idea of how life should be, which is bullshit because life shows up how it shows up, right? So it's a in a way a disconnect from life or from reality that I'm seeing as a wanting to create, which is actually a disconnect. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Rather than what this connection to Earth could bring me. Like, what if I keep walking this path of just really feeling all there is to feel when I drop in Earth, and then spontaneously see what wants to rise and really learn to trust that, which is trust is such a trust is trusting. It's really, really trusting. It's not an easy thing for me, to be honest. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say with that. Yeah.
And again, I see by spending time in nature, and like even right now, I'm in my room, I look out of the window, I'm surrounded by nature. Like one house I can see, and the rest is just nature. So I'm looking right now, there are birds, in the rice field, there are all kinds of creatures, and they don't seem to make such a big deal, and they're probably living their purpose, like fully. But they don't make such a big deal out of it. Like the birds are not singing and then thinking in the back of their mind, is this gonna land me a record deal? they're just singing their song and they're doing it so seemingly so joyously and so
Mm.
purposefully and so naturally. And every creature in the forest is sort of just expressing itself, and it's through that they're all sort of harmonizing, right? It's us humans that get so caught up in the what and the how, and so self-conscious. And so I think being childlike and being expressive, and that's why in our school we put so much emphasis on the inner child and being a creative space and you're allowing to explore and make mistakes. And I feel it's so important so we can recondition ourselves that it's okay to mess around in this infinite uh, consciousness, in this realm of infinite consciousness, and that we can never ultimately get it wrong. In the long run, it doesn't really matter all that much, you know. And I know it's this feeling of I'm willing to die for this, and I would say I carry that absolutely. I'm willing to die for what I'm doing, but the next edge of that I had to step into is I'm willing to live for this. I'm willing to be here, and I'm willing to feel it though, and I'm willing to actually stay with it. Dying for it is easy, man. I've done that many times. Am I willing to live for this? And I'm willing to just not just heroically throw myself at everything, but also sort of take time to just sit back and let others do it. And I'm willing to work together with everybody and seeing that we're all playing a part of this. And I'm not the king of this forest by myself. We were all kings and queens in this forest, and we all have beautiful gifts. And it's in the harmonizing and the allowing of everyone to share their gifts that we are creating this beautiful ecosystem that the next generation won't even remember who's done what. But all we know is that through our shared intentions and through our harmony and our willingness to face the darkness, so we could come back together as a union, that we've created a type of situation where the next generations can incarnate in a way that's not going to destroy them from childhood onwards, but actually give them a solid foundation for them to keep on co-creating this new earth that we speak of. I guess it's not a. I don't believe it's a one generation. It's certainly not a one person job, but it's something that we're all sort of advancing towards. And so in that, I guess we should be careful not to get caught up in self-importance and really over-analyzing what it is that we're doing, but just have fun with it, ultimately.
Yeah. And that on its own is for this being, and I think for many beings alone, a deconditioning, reprogramming that following our joy is really what we came here to do. And
Yeah.
that is
Wow.
such an
Imagine.
unusual thing in our societies,
Yeah.
Western society.
Yeah. Being slapped out of us.
Yeah.
And this idea that we can be joyful and we can be graceful and we can be with ease and we can still get a lot done. But maybe not through the eyes of corporate or being hugely productive, but 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 it's again it's more the ecosystem model. And an ecosystem is a lot harder to destroy than a rice field. Then an agricultural system is like a clearing in the forest. It's literally a cornfield, literally is only 5 or 10 centimeters deep down into the earth. And that's what I sometimes feel of this whole system. It might seem so vastly powerful, but it's really not deeply rooted.
Mm.
You can have a huge corporation with thousands of people working for it, but they're all uniform like those corns in the field. And only one thing has to go wrong. The economy might crash or something. And all these people would run because if it wasn't for the money, they wouldn't be here. But if we are like a family, united through something greater, then I feel we become very resilient because an economic crisis or a pandemic is not really going to break us apart because we're in this together for something much bigger. And so that's maybe why it's slow what we're building, it's slow what we're doing, but it's definitely going deep, deep, deep roots. And it's going to be very resilient. And those trees are not just going to fall over with the first storm. Hi. Hmm.
嗯，yeah. 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 嗯，yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel I've landed in a place of clarity for now, and I wonder if there's any pieces that you feel like you want to bring still to the place, to the space, or anything you want to, yeah,
No, I was feeling
receive or
exactly the same energy. I felt the last few sentences were just, or perhaps even unnecessary, but I just throw them in. The last little sprinkle of seasoning, the soup is cooked. Don't add. This is my tendency when I'm cooking. I always overdo it. It's good, it's good, it's good, and then a little. Nah, come on. Now you
no.
put too much. It's too complex now. Simplify it. Be more Japanese about this.
Hmm.
No, but this is good. This was lovely interaction between us today. I'm glad we recorded it. Let's pop it online for whoever is going to be helped by this. And I would say let's keep on doing these together, uh, on or offline, and we're in this together. And I love you.
Yes, thank you, brother. Thank you, Simon. I look forward to the next call and to, yeah, the next time we will be cooking together. So let's stay in
That's
touch.
good.
Thank you for the
All righty.
watchers and the viewers, and we'll be here next time again. Bye for now.
Big love.